I just posted this, just came to mind as we were talking about Alex Grinch and his 22 season. Just point blank, everyone, if you'd like to take part in the poll, I just simply asked, should Alex Grinch have been fired? So, with no conditions. There you go.
Yeah, and I think the real nuance there is, if you could have lined up a deal for Jim Leonard, and that would have been the end product of firing Alex Grinch, then yes. But
Sure.
Just firing Alex Grinch and not knowing who the heck you're going to replace him with, that's another matter entirely. Hey, Mark, and I know this is a USC show, but let's mention the fact that we have Miami and Notre Dame both looking for offensive coordinators right now. And so, I mean, certainly, so like there is a USC tie-in just looking at Notre Dame, because like if you already have Sam Hartman as the quarterback at Notre Dame for this season, USC is going to have to face Sam Hartman on October 14th, the mid-October Saturday in South Bend. Well, I sure hope you don't have Dan Mullen coaching Sam Hartman. That would be a scenario USC fans certainly want to avoid, and one has to just wonder. And I'm sure USC fans are wondering this. Is there a battle? Is there a tug of war between Marcus Freeman and Mario Cristobal for Dan Mullen? I don't know, but like that is certainly something worth following. And frankly, if I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm secretly excited. Like I'm thinking, okay, this is a chance to upgrade at offensive coordinator. I wouldn't necessarily call Tommy Rees a bad offensive coordinator, but a lot like Alex Grinch, you would not call him an elite coordinator. And so there is certainly room to do better. And like Dan Mullen is at the top of the list in terms of available offensive coordinators. I don't know if he wants to go to South Bend. I don't know if he wants to go to Coral Gables in the U, but that is certainly looming as a huge carousel drama in terms of where Dan Mullen's going, but also Notre Dame and Miami both being in the market for offensive coordinators at the same time. That is a fascinating little plot twist created by Nick Saban pulling in Tommy Rees and bringing him to Tuscaloosa. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, this is not an Alabama show, but Nick Saban had to replace both coordinators and made choices that most people would not consider, maybe not necessarily bad choices, but not the first choice for a program that you would think had its pick of the litter. I know most Bama fans wanted Jeremy Pruitt back, regardless of his issues with Tennessee. Obviously, he would not be in a position running a program. He's coordinating a defense, and he's considered one of the best. And Tommy Rees was a curious hire. Not that he will not turn into a tremendous coordinator who obviously is going to get his hands on better talent at Alabama and certainly better quarterback play, you would think, although they have all sorts of question marks and unknown commodities for this particular season. But of course, that Alabama offense has been operating with the likes of Mac Jones, Bryce Young, and Tua Tagovailoa for the last 4, 5, 6 years, and even Jalen Hurts before that, versus the likes of Ian Book, Drew Pine, Tyler Buckner, Jack Cohn, etc. So we will see what Tommy Rees can do with, again, he's got to work out the quarterback situation. We'll see what happens there. In talking about Alex Grinch, I mentioned to Matt before we came on, and he's well aware of the situation at Iowa where offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz was given a contract adjustment. Was that the term that was used?
I think so.
Not an extension, an adjustment. So bottom line here, I believe they reduced his salary by maybe $100,000 or something like that per season, a small reduction, but gave incentive to earning back and maybe even more than the original salary if he meets two criteria. One, and this is coming from the offensive coordinator, 25 points scoring per game, average of 25 points per game, which I immediately looked that up. I knew it would be middling in college football. 85th, it would have been tied with Arkansas State, 85th in the nation this past season. And then also, the caveat there is that unlike probably any other defense in existence. You can almost count on the Iowa defense scoring. I looked it up again. They led the nation. They tied for the lead in most touchdowns scored this year, as they almost always do. So they will contribute, plus positioning the offense in a good place. So he's going to get all the help from the defense and special teams that you can imagine on top of that. And then the other one is even more curious, that he gets a bonus for 7 wins. It's
like giving me a bonus for eating oatmeal every morning.
I place Iowa football in a higher. Maybe I shouldn't. I thought they were better than that. 7-5 is worth a bonus.
Yeah, the 25 points per game average, that's hilarious. If they said 25 points per Big Ten game, now that's something I'd take a lot more seriously. But just imagine this: Iowa's going to be leading Western Michigan by 25 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah,
they're going to be 52.
The ball.
Had that.
They're going to be getting the ball down the field to score their 49th, 56th, 63rd point. Then Ferenc just has to average 15 points per game in the Big Ten schedule, and he'll meet that incentive. Come on. How the 25 per game over 12, with 2 non-conference cupcakes plus Iowa State. Come on. I mean, if this was a Big Ten average per game, all right, that would that would be serious. That would be an actual achievement. But if Iowa scores 56 against Western Michigan and 45 against Utah State, then that incentive just means very, very little. And really, I it's really staggering that a set of incentives could be drawn up that poorly. It really is staggering. I mean, the 7 wins, okay, yeah, why are you settling for that? But really, Iowa set up a situation where everyone's going to be talking about this for the next 8 months. It's the only thing people are going to be talking about relative to Iowa football. And then if the offense just goes crazy against the non-con and the non-Iowa State games in the early part of the schedule, then we're going to have a situation where I will just have to average basically 2 touchdowns a game in the Big Ten, or 5 field goals, Clint Moses. Just 5 field goals a game is going to get Ferenc to that incentive, to that benchmark. It's staggering just how dumb this all is, but it's the only thing people are going to be talking about in Iowa City.
This is Iowa scoring last year. And for anybody out there, and I have not seen any complaints, but I typically do if we venture off into other topics, regardless of what the team channel show is. But just keep in mind, we exhaust all the USC, but I love getting Matt's perspective on the other issues and teams in college football. We can always bring it back to USC if you guys have comments or questions. Here's Iowa's scoring in 2022. The infamous 7 points against South Dakota State in the opener, in which they did not score a touchdown. They scored the 7 points with 2 safeties and a field goal with the scoring drive of 5 yards to kick the field goal. So basically, you might as well say, yeah, when I looked that up, I thought, okay, this is the most ridiculous thing I've seen. They just won 7-3 with 2 safeties and a field goal. And then I looked up the field goal drive, 5 yards. So the defense scored 7 points. Unbelievable.
And that should be factored into, by the way, defense points per game, offense points per game. The metrics for that should be revised. They haven't been, but they should be.
Iowa State, guess what? They lost 10-7. Their defense scored a touchdown. They beat Nevada 27-0. So that sounds like a respectable scoring. It's really not. 27 points. Nevada was one of the worst teams in the country. This is a great one, too. They beat Rutgers 27-10. 2 pick sixes. They outscored the offense again. This just doesn't happen anywhere else in football. It's unbelievable. They scored 14 against Michigan. They scored 6 against Illinois. They lost 9-6. Their poor defense, they lost 9-6. Their defense gave up 3 field goals, lost the game. The this was the best 54-point defensive effort I've ever seen in my life. They got drubbed by Ohio State 54-10, but they had 6 turnovers on offense, and the defense really didn't play that poorly. So they scored 10 against Ohio State. That was a pick 6. Yes. They shot through the middle, tipped a pass from C.J. Stroud, picked it off. So, again, they scored 10 against Ohio State. That was a pick 6. They scored 33 on Northwestern. I think it was somewhat of a legit 33. They scored 24 against Purdue. The offense got rolling here. That was a legit 24 points. 24 against Wisconsin. Then they finished the season 13 against Minnesota, 17 against Nebraska, and classic Iowa effort in the bowl win against Kentucky. They won 21-0. They had about 130 yards of total offense, and they had 2 pick 6s in the bowl game. This is unheard. This doesn't happen anywhere else. I'm just fascinated by this.
If you have USC's offense and Iowa's defense, that is the #1 team in college football. It's definitely better than anything Kirby Smart or Nick Saban could possibly hope to put on the field. And yet, both the USC offense and much more so the Iowa defense, their efforts were wasted in 2022. In terms of not being able to win the Cotton Bowl, not being able to win the Pac-12 title, and Iowa not being able to win what was a bad Big Ten West, just because that offense was such a disaster.